I've turned into somebody who I really don't like, and I wouldn't expect you to like. I remember sitting there and saying, I get it. But I think the biggest lesson is being honest with yourself, which I think most women, and I can't really comment on men, I think men probably do as well, find it really, really hard. If you're arguing over the dishwasher, you need to go and speak to somebody. If you are arguing over the dishwasher to the point that it's not a laugh, to the point that it's not joking, it's not joshing, if you do get seriously, I actually want to poke him in the eye with a fork over the dishwasher, go and speak to somebody. Everybody I know who has had the most traumatic divorce experiences haven't come from divorced parents.
Yes, like me.
Welcome to the Heartbreak to Happiness show with Sarah Davison. If you're struggling with a breakup and you feel shocked, angry, betrayed, devastated, or sad and alone, then this podcast is for you. Best-selling author and award-winning host Sarah Davison shares how you too can get on with your life to heal, grow, and move from heartbreak to happiness. Here's your host, Sarah Davison.
Welcome back to the show. Now, today, our episode is sponsored by Payne Hicks Beach, who are arguably one of the strongest family law firms in the country, providing enviable strength and depth in both financial and children law cases. But not only are they the best in class in the courtroom and around the negotiating table, but after years of experience of supporting clients through the most vulnerable times of their lives, they have recently launched a new resource on mental health and family breakdown, which is pioneering the family law industry in looking at ways to guide, support, and help clients for the best possible outcome through some of their darkest days. Now, to contact Payne Hicks Beach, you can email vhingston@phb.co.uk, and don't forget to quote Sarah Davison. Now, today, I am super excited to have a fabulous guest called Kat Farmer. Now, many of you will know Kat. You'll know her by her social media handle, Does My Bum Look 40, which I love and we'll definitely be talking about. She is also a fashion stylist, an author, the podcast host of Been There, Done That, Got the Podcast, and of course known for her role on the BBC One's fashion styling show, You Are What You Wear. So I am super excited to welcome Kat Farmer to the show. Welcome, Kat.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so excited you said yes when I reached out to you on Insta. I was so excited. So thank you so much for coming. I mean, you've done so much and I'm always a bit in awe of your skill sets of so many different things. Tell me, for people that don't know you, I must be living under a rock, but just a little bit about really your main focus at the moment, maybe.
My main focus is and always has been fashion. I mean, that's what I live and breathe, and I've done it now for 15 years. But as I was originally a stylist 15 years ago, and then I had a blog, which seems really random now because obviously, I mean, who reads those anymore? But that became quite successful. The styling business was very successful. And then, I mean, thank goodness, touch wood. And then Instagram came along and I used it predominantly as a source of marketing. It was basically like a PR, the best PR tool on the planet. But as that grew, more and more brands got in touch and it was much easier to sort of, dare I say, rob Peter to pay Paul. And you were able to reach a much wider audience by working with brands rather than working with individuals. So I sort of did that. And then that grew and I'm very gobby. And the more you share, so I started talking about my life and then you start to talk about your travel. And then that sort of becomes not only a content stream, but fortunately for me, a revenue stream as well. So then you do more of that. And then obviously there was lockdown, which seems 2 seconds ago and a million years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I started doing a couple of different things. It became much more about me because, well, we were all slobbing around in tracksuits. So what can you talk about fashion-wise? Then beauty, makeup, because obviously we had nothing else to do. And then we drank wine.
Yes.
So that's when I started working with Helen McGinn, Knackered Mother, who I've known at that time for 12 years. I've known her for 15 years now.
Wow.
And I remember walking around Waitrose, standing there in the, in the wine cellar, as they call it, and being asked, Madam, can you move on? I'm like, back off, I've got 40 minutes. And I remember ringing her saying, Helen, I just, it's one glass of wine a night. What can I drink? And we then started doing sort of trialing. We said, well, if I'm looking for new things to try, surely everybody else is. So that's how Wine Time grew. We just did it live. And then we do that. And it just has sort of snowballed. It's been quite organic as growth, shall I say.
Yeah, and really fun to watch, because I think you talk about the things that everyone really wants to talk about.
Well, I mean, I think we recently did actually a getaway. I'm obviously 51 and I've got lots and lots of women, and obviously the menopause,
Yes.
I think we are, there's a real fear, I think, that our generation will be badged as, men are warriors. We're so much more than that.
Yeah.
And there are people who do that really brilliantly, amazingly, but I don't think everybody needs to do it. But it seems that whenever you're asked, as a 50-something woman, and your menopause, okay, fine, that's done.
Yes.
Somebody else talks about that.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about living our lives?
Yeah.
And ironically, as lots of us have got our menopause sorted, and you can get it sorted, you think, right, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And you've actually got, I read a really great stat the other day. So for the first 30 years of your life, you are premenopausal. You then spend 10 years being perimenopausal, and you then spend a day being menopausal.
A day?
One day.
One day?
It's one day.
Oh, I didn't realize it was one day.
It's one day, and then you're postmenopausal for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So when you think about the largest proportion of your life to go and do stuff is now. And I just thought nobody is actually really talking about that, about the fact that women are really brilliant. We are a generation of women who've never existed before. And I know that sounds really trite, but it's not. We've got more income, we've got more autonomy, we're more confident, we've got our menopause sorted, we're healthier, but we still mentally are probably 28.
Yeah. Actually, that's the age, I think. When someone says to me, how old are you? In my head.
Yeah.
I'm 28. Oh, no, not.
Me too.
Okay, yeah, okay, scary.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, you're so right. And I think people get hung up on the things that worry them and focus a lot on the things that worry them. And what I love about what you do is there's a lot of fun and realness about it, actually.
Well, I mean, it's not to say, that do I talk about things that are serious? Very occasionally. But actually, again, there are lots and lots of other people who do that.
Yeah.
And who do that really well. And I also, all my friends will tell you, I am that person that, if there is a serious situation, I always handle a very serious situation with humour. I can't not. I've been in fires.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I've been in one very serious fire. Yeah. We were rescued from a rooftop.
Oh my god!
And I'm the one. That's
a house fire.
Yeah, a house fire. Yeah, years ago at uni.
Gosh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and everyone's absolutely panicking, and I'm just saying, right, put all my jewellery in your pockets. And I'm like, has everyone got perfume on? They're like, cat. Just, I don't know. It's just a level of focus to try and take away from the severity of the situation. Yeah, exactly. So I think, I'm not the most serious of people. Genuinely, I'm really not. Yes, I treat situations, I take them seriously, but I just think, life is made to be funny.
Exactly. But maybe that's why when you went through your divorce and you wrote about it, maybe that's why, especially for me, that really resonated, because it was a serious issue. Obviously, divorce is the second most traumatic life experience we go through after death of a loved one. So I don't think a lot of people really realise how bad it is. Really,
yeah. Well, it's really interesting because I don't know if there's a difference maybe with how people handle it. And over the years, obviously, I've been unfortunate enough, I should say. Well, I say that. I've been, unfortunate enough to witness lots of friends go through very traumatic divorce experiences.
Yeah.
And everybody I know who's had the most traumatic divorce experiences haven't come from divorced parents.
Yes, like me.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, my childhood was interesting. At the time, you don't realise how different.
Yes, it's all you know, right? You grow up with that.
If I say I was married. I was born when my dad was married to his first wife. Yes, then there was a second wife, which was my mum. And then at the age of 6, my best friend not told me that my dad was having an affair with somebody else, but said, your dad's at my house, let's go see him. And I was like, no, let's go tell my mum. And that's how my mum found out
Oh, wow.
My dad was having an affair with my best friend's mum, who was obviously a friend, like family friend.
Oh my goodness, your poor
Yeah,
mum.
at the age of 6. Yes. But then my mum was brilliant. I mean, with hindsight, brilliant. And unfortunately, she died 8 years ago, before my teens were teens. And I really wish, knowing what it's like bringing up teenage kids, you know, as a real single mum with no, you know, paternal input whatsoever. She was amazing. And also in a time where it was very, very unusual.
Yeah.
It was much more unusual.
Around being a single mum.
Well, I mean, we can talk about stigma later, but that's the one thing that I've been so surprised at in this day and age. The stigma is still live and kicking.
Oh, it is. It definitely is.
It's extraordinary.
So let's talk a little bit, if you're happy to share, about your divorce and how that came about.
So the interesting thing I will say about lots of people who have come from divorce backgrounds, again, and I know lots of people who are still happily married and those who, you know, who've gone their separate ways. I think the one thing you do is you're determined that won't happen to your kids, which is interesting. I think, you know, you think, oh, I'll be cleverer at picking a better partner.
Yeah.
You know, I've got, you know, my spidey senses are tingling. And I think to that extent, when perhaps, I married somebody who ticked lots and lots and lots of boxes. And I had a lot of therapy as well when I was younger. I was touch wood, very fortunate that I had therapy from the age of 17.
Which helped you work through some of the issues with your dad, is that?
Totally.
Right, okay.
Do you know what? What it gave me, I think the two most important things that I would say in any breakup of any relationship, whether it be for, you know, as for parents or for yourself, is perspective and acceptance.
Yeah.
And I think, having spoken to so many women over the years before my breakup and after, the thing that they struggle with, the biggest thing is acceptance.
Acceptance of
the situation.
That it's happened and that they are in that situation.
That it's happened and that, you know, it's very much, it happened. However hideous it is, you can't change it.
Yeah.
And it is that reluctant acceptance, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
Until you have that, you can't move forward.
Yeah.
And the thing I learned that, you know, carrying baggage serves literally nobody. It is the most damaging, mentally restraining, toxic thing that you can have.
So by baggage, what do you mean by that?
I think emotional baggage.
Yeah.
And I think blame and I think bitterness is a thing that I think is the trait that I see in lots of women. And I know that the situations they have been in are truly and utterly horrendous. But I think until you accept them and acknowledge them, and it's very, very easy for me to say as an adult, but I had to do it as a child, which I don't know if it's more difficult. I don't know. I would never belittle anyone's situation by saying it is or it isn't. I just think it gives you a sense of peace by saying it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
And or any blame that I have to you know, any blame that I have in that scenario, I can learn from it.
Yeah. And I think that's a really key lesson, that we can't control what anyone else is going to do, but we can control how we feel and how we react.
Yes.
So let's take our power back. Don't give it away.
That, for me, I think until you acknowledge the only person that has control of your future and your happiness and your destiny is you.
Absolutely.
And as much as they were the biggest arsehole in the planet, and as much as if I hear one more woman say to me, but I really love them and they really love me, well, clearly they didn't. And I did say that to somebody. I know. I did say that to somebody. And the look of shock, horror, you know, well, I was the love of his life. Well, you weren't. Well, we had the perfect marriage. Well, you didn't. You know, it's an awful thing to say, but women don't say that to other women because you don't. And didn't say it to hurt her feelings in any way, shape or form. I said it to try and help her. It's almost like having a physical slap.
Yeah, it's like a reality check of let's take off the rose-tinted glasses.
Yes.
Until you do that, there is no progress.
And I love him and I always love him. Why? Why do you love him?
Yeah.
You know, the person that you thought he was, he may have been for a portion of time, but ultimately he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't that person that you thought he was.
Yeah.
He's an absolute asshole.
Yeah.
And, move away. He did you a favor.
Yeah.
You now have the opportunity to take control of your life, not make the same mistakes again, and find somebody, because there is somebody out there who will truly and utterly love you for who you are.
Yeah.
But you can't be broken. And the
Yeah.
only person who can fix you is you.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately going from being broken into a relationship, if you haven't done the work,
Yeah.
you're attracting somebody
Yes.
that is going to be probably needing help as well.
Yes.
So that's quite toxic
Yes.
to start with.
Yeah. And I just think there is also, for me as well, if one more woman says, well, I didn't change, you did.
Yeah.
I think there's a level of, and I feel awful by calling it naivety. And I don't get me wrong, I had that as well. And I think there is also an acceptance of what women think is happiness. And they confuse happiness with being financially secure.
Yes. And that's, for me, I think when we grow up, do you agree? Like we grow up with
Yeah.
fairy tales,
Yes.
like you'll find your Prince Charming and you'll have kids and you'll have a family, and that is important. But I know you're like me, you did everything. You had a career,
Yeah.
you brought up 3
Yeah.
kids. So tell us a bit about that as well.
Well, I did. I was also brought up by a single mum, so
Yeah.
with no paternal input whatsoever. So truly, truly single. And I was always taught. My mum said to me, your money is your money. His money is his money.
Good lesson.
I struggle but I remember speaking to women and they're like, well, no, it's a family pot.
Yes. See, that's how I was brought up, because my mum and dad loved each other, had the same bank accounts.
Yeah.
So that was never on my radar, which with hindsight would probably be a good thing to learn.
So, and I know women say that. It's like, well, the law courts have a very different opinion of that. But I didn't understand why, and I know this is a very, very, very controversial thing to say. And I think you can divide women down the middle between those who agree and those who don't. And it's not something that I mean to say to insult other women by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just my perspective. And I know they see it very, very differently. But I didn't, for me, it was my contribution was, yes, bringing up the children, but it was also contributing financially. I didn't see that staying at home and bringing up the children was a financial contribution in any way, shape or form, because my mum worked and brought me up. So you can do both.
Yeah.
I, maybe from a selfish perspective, I needed to do that for me as much as anybody else, having been in a situation that didn't work out. And as much as I went into my marriage absolutely thinking that this was going to be forever, I really genuinely did.
Yeah.
Reaching a point and thinking, and we both changed as well. And I think, I'm not sure if men will agree that they change, but they do change, but women change as well.
Yeah.
And I think with us both changing, you do reach a point where, some people are very happy to live as flatmates. And we didn't argue. I, contrary to popular belief, don't argue, having been brought up in a house of the most enormous rows. I never saw that as being anything that solved an issue ever.
Did you have brothers and sisters you grew up with?
Yeah, I've got a younger brother who's 3
Right.
years younger than me.
Okay.
But he was very much more sheltered from it as well.
Right.
Very much more sheltered. I was very much at the coalface. And I don't know if girls are more astute or more perspective. I don't know. Actually, interestingly, out of my 3 children, it was one of the boys who was. But I just think that you are able to not have everything.
Yeah.
Because you can't. But, you can do both.
Yeah.
You can do both.
But when you're in that school environment, for example, with children and mums at the school gates, because it's usually the mums at the school gates, whatever
Yeah.
people say, I don't see many dads at the school gates, maybe in the morning dropping the kids off, but you don't really see them at 3:00 in the afternoon picking
Yeah.
the kids up, in my experience. That sort of, if you're working, that is usually quite unusual, I think.
I think do you know what? I do think it's actually more different now. Bear in mind that my eldest is 20, so we're talking sort of 15 years ago. I do think that actually the primary school generation now, I do think it's different. I've got friends who have got smaller children, and they say lots more mums do work.
Okay.
So and that is obviously the next generation.
Yes.
And I think that they do. I do genuinely think that they've seen our generation mess it up.
Yeah.
And I think not intentionally, we didn't do it intentionally. We really, really didn't. And I know that there were lots of women who had, they had lovely lives. They had the coffee mornings, they went to the gym, and they did all those lovely things. And I did try and sort of do this as well.
Yeah.
And I would work in the evenings, or I would work at the weekends.
Yeah.
So I did try and sort of do that bit, but eventually that
How did that make you feel though? Because you were different.
Oh, my daughter came back to me at the age of 8 and said, "Mummy, when are you going to be like all the other mummies in the playground?"
Oh.
And I said, "Darling, I'm not. I'm not. I'm really not.
Yeah.
I'm really not. I think I did parent quite differently. I mean, there was definitely a memo that I didn't really get. I do remember my friend coming around saying, and the kids are really little actually. I mean, they're about, I don't know, maybe mine were probably 7, 5 and 3.
Right.
And hers are a similar age. And I was looking after her kids one day in the holidays, and she came over and I said, "Oh, they're in the playroom, they're watching TV." "Oh, what are they watching?" I said, "Oh my God, they love it. Jurassic Park."
Oh my God.
Her face. What? She used to be a nanny as well, like a Norland nanny.
Wow.
She was like, "Sorry?" And I genuinely, but my kids had watched it because I'd watched it with them, and I said, "Well, they're not real, but they're scary." And I didn't ever. I don't know, my kids.
I can imagine the face. It was equivalent of a horror movie at that age.
Well, probably, but my kids didn't, but they were like, "It's not real. It's we watched Jaws. We watched. Yeah, they didn't. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't real." So I didn't. I wasn't the baking cake mum. I did try, and there would be a lot of swearing, and there would be a lot of, "You're making a mess." It just was not my forte.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
But I did a really good kitchen disco, and I did a really good movie night, and there were a couple of well booked days where you get the call, darling, you do know that tomorrow's well booked day.
Yes.
Knowing full well that I had no idea. And also
no time to order on Amazon that costume.
No. Our school for a couple of years had no Disney costumes allowed.
Oh.
I think they did it for a couple of years, which was, oh my God. It was normally Ray the dressing up box.
Yes.
And so it was, okay, who fancies duvet day tomorrow?
Oh, yes.
I think I did it twice.
Yeah.
Right, here's the thing. You can either... And also, my kids didn't like dressing up.
Yeah.
They didn't mind... But they didn't love dressing up on somebody else's terms.
Yeah.
I mean, as my ex would say, they're very much your children. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And there was... So it was, right, do you want to have a duvet day? I'm so sorry they're not well today. And they were little at the time. I mean, which I'm so sorry, teachers, that's awful. But I did do the very last well booked day I ever did with my youngest. They went to a very Catholic primary school. And I did send him as Jesus.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a Barry Gibb wig on. That had been used for Barry Gibb. It was Roman day. It had been Roman day whenever. So he had the Roman day costume on. Yeah, but he had sliders on, which wasn't the best. And I bought a staff.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that. And how did that go down?
Oh, not well. Greatest book in the world. Fight me on that one. Third. Greatest book in the world.
I never entered my head to send my son as Jesus.
Yeah. Or you could do Moses. Someone did say, "Is he Moses?" And he went, "No, I'm Jesus." I'm like, "No, you should have been Moses." It's very similar. I mean,
I love it.
Yeah. Aesthetically very similar.
I mean, I think being a mum that's slightly different at school does have its challenges, but I love the way that you own it, and you're like, yeah, well, this is me, unashamedly me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
Accept it or don't. How do you do that? Because a lot of people want to please other people, don't want to be different. Where does that strength come from?
My mum.
Okay.
Definitely. And I also think growing up, where you were the only child in the class who was divorced.
Yeah.
And when my dad left, the financial situation then became very different. I was very lucky. I had a scholarship to go to the school I went to.
Oh, wow.
But I was with, who were people who were on a very, very different monetary plane. And so I'd always been different.
Yeah.
Or there was a level of difference. And I just thought, my mum never made it out to be a bad thing.
Yeah.
It was never a bad thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know any different.
Yeah.
Is what
I
I'd
do
say.
personally, and being one myself, I think being a single mom is a bit of a superhero status because you have that ability to have that really special bond with your child.
Yeah.
And I hate that word broken home because actually for me, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me with hindsight. And that parenting relationship is very different as a single mum than it is when you're parenting with another parent. Tell me a bit, because you've got 3 kids, I've only got 1. Tell me.
Well, I don't really have sort of that now because mine are so much older. So mine are now 20, 18 and 16. And there's only one left at home, and he, spends the majority of time at, what was the family home, because I was the one that chose to leave. So I had to leave. And, I think the thing that I struggle most with it, is the not seeing them, obviously, and him especially, because we were incredibly close. But fortunate or not, and I think the great thing is I've got the most incredible girlfriends, and husbands. And actually, the interesting thing is we've not lost, me and my ex-husband, one friend.
Wow.
Nope, not one friend.
That's
at
incredible.
All in all of it.
Well done, you though. That's credit to you guys because that's not easy.
Yeah, no. We've and I think it's the not seeing him, but as they do say, he basically sort of he was 14 and then 15, and he literally hit the time where if you've got sort of mid-teenage boys, in my experience, in the age of my eldest boy, from the age of sort of 14 and a half to sort of 16, they go into their room for a year and a half and then emerge.
Yes.
I mean, they go in and they grunt at you. They don't actually say anything for 18 months.
I recognise that stage.
Just feed them.
Yeah.
That's, and yes, exactly. And don't tell them you love them. Don't try and kiss them. Don't try and hug them.
God forbid.
Yes, exactly. Don't tell you love them.
Kiss them goodbye in the car outside school.
Good God, no.
Oh, no.
And so it did coincide with that, which made it easier and more difficult. I do think it is, though, it's the judgment. And we had originally, the idea was that he would come and spend a week. I rented somewhere that had enough bedrooms for them to come and stay, and that was the idea. And I always remember it hit me really hard, really early on. Someone said, you're not putting your children first. Ooh. I know, but that was somebody from a divorced background, who was going through a divorce, who. Yeah, interestingly, I think, whose parents, were very happily married. And I think if you look at that, and I used to look at how, they were coping with their children, thinking, as a child who's come from it, I think, in my opinion, what you're doing is so wrong and damaging. Yeah. But I would never say that.
Yeah.
But obviously, some people think that, that you can say that.
Yeah.
Feel especially if, you're the person who is what they feel not doing, towing the party, divorcee line.
Yeah.
And I said, the thing is, I am doing what he wants to do. Do I miss him? I mean, and what people don't see is when you sit there and you do just sob and sob and sob. Yeah. Or when I see him or I leave him, when he was doing his exams, GCSEs, obviously didn't want to come. So I would go down twice a week, take him out for dinner, and sit on the train and just sob. And of course I could have said, you are coming to stay with me. But that would be about me, not about him. He was happy. Yeah. He was fine.
Which is your strength, to be able to put the kids first even when it hurts you. That's a strength.
And also, all fair to my ex-husband, he said, if you're happy, I'm happy. I mean, he's no bother. I mean, again, touch wood, I'm very, very lucky, that absolutely no bother whatsoever. None of them are any bother. Anymore. I do have my not bother, but my middle son is autistic. And so obviously throughout the entirety of his growing up, I mean, that actually working and having an autistic child as well,
how do you manage that?
Well, that was a level of judgment. I think interestingly, the thing that I've learned most, which is probably not a very it's a terrible thing to say actually, having had children, and having dealt with other women and now being divorced, is the thing that has struck me the most is how horrible women are. It's an awful thing to say.
We can be really horrible
vile.
to each other, and that's one of the things that I've really struggled with, actually.
Yeah.
If someone says something negative and it's a guy, I can kind of go, okay. But if it's another woman, that kind of hits different.
Well, I think in my experience, men are much more simple creatures. And I don't think they have the level of animosity or Machiavellian. They don't say things that are necessarily as loaded. I mean, in my experience, and again, I've worked with, so many men, so I've got loads of men friends. But I think, I don't know. I just think women, the judgment, men don't tend to judge other men like women judge other women.
Yeah.
I don't
Why
think.
do you think we do that?
I think it's a lot of it's regret. I think a lot of it's envy. I think that women, again, I don't know. I just think if women feel insecure, their way to do it is to make somebody else feel worse about themselves. I think to make themselves feel better, they make somebody else feel worse.
Yeah.
And it's a trait that I've never, ever understood, ever. And I think that, there are some women who don't and some women who do, but they'd never admit it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like, I think, and I do know quite a few narcissistic women as well who've been, with men, and they're the ones, he's the narcissist. And the men I've spoken to, and every single man will hold his hand up and say, yeah, do you know what, in that marriage, I did some really awful things. And, you hear about what the women did, and they're like, you're a narcissist. And, the men, and they will say, I did, I was a narcissist in that, I had narcissistic tendencies in that relationship. And, so maybe I am a narcissist. And I remember saying to one of them, the fact that you're actually saying that means you're not.
Yes.
Because
exactly.
no narcissist will ever agree or see that they are.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing, because, most abuse, it is a gender-based issue.
Yeah.
And so, predominantly it's women that struggle with that as the victims. But the other way around, we don't necessarily spot it as much.
Yeah.
But it does exist.
Yes.
Absolutely does exist. I mean, there's that movie, I don't know if you've seen it, My Wife, My Abuser, that's out on Netflix at the moment.
Yes. He
actually reached out to me. It's a campaign a lot on domestic abuse issues, and I'm hoping to get him on a podcast, Richard Spencer, but he went through so much.
Oh, my Lord.
And
that's one thing I have absolutely no experience in whatsoever is domestic abuse.
Yeah.
Absolutely none. I mean, I'm very fortunate in that I don't know it, and I don't know people around me that have been through it. So I'm very, very fortunate in that.
Yeah, you are. I know a lot, but that's my line of work, I guess. So I see a lot of it, but I'm a survivor. So for me, that's something that's close to my heart. But it's definitely, the environment that I work in with, I work with a lot of women, I work with a lot of men, I have a community of coaches. What I find is sometimes the people that are the worst on social media towards me or towards the people that are being successful in my community tend to be women. And that surprises me, because I think, guys, come on, together we're stronger. We've got to help each other. But it's not always that way.
No. Oh, no. And I think it comes back to, it's, again, talking about the stigma.
Yeah,
it was,
because you experienced that.
Yeah. And I think also, as a woman who's left, you are, if I had a pound for everybody that said, well, how unhappy were you? And it is, if you're not being, if you're not being abused, if you're not, if there's no emotional abuse, if you're, you're just not happy, well, isn't that enough?
So as in, you should have stayed?
Yeah, totally.
Stay in the relationship you're not in love and not happy
Yes.
Because,
well, you're not really unhappy, and it's better for the children. You broke your children are unhappy.
Wow.
I know. But that's genuinely what lots of women think. It's like, well, but how happy do you need to be? I want to be really happy.
Ooh, is that selfish?
Yeah. Oh.
Are you being selfish, Kat?
Totally selfish.
I think a lot of people are scared, though, by that braveness, because I think sometimes it is brave to leave because you don't know what's on the other side. So it is a bit of a gamble. And I've seen people leave relationships because they think the grass is greener, so they've cheated or they've gone on to, and they've realised, actually, I was onto a good thing there and I got carried away.
Well, I do think that's why, in a very crude, basic, ridiculously naive level that men do have affairs, because I think they have to have one foot in the camp, and they just have to test the water. And, if that's not going to be forever, then this is okay, I'll go back.
Yeah.
Have
somewhere to go.
Yes.
Lined up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I do know over the very, very many years, men who have had affairs, and I know 3 of them, every single man has turned around at some point earlier and broached the subject and said, listen, I'm not very happy. Can we talk about this? I think maybe it's not working. And I know the women have said, talk to the hand. Of course you are. Don't be so ridiculous. Of course you are. Of course we're happy. We're fine. We're amazing. We're fine. And not taking it seriously. And the men, who clearly did not try very hard, have just gone, okay, fine. And then had affairs.
Yeah.
And I think...
What helps with that? I mean, you did couples therapy, didn't you, at the end of your relationship?
Yeah, couples...
I love the fact you did that, because, you didn't just run away. It was like, right, let's do something constructive.
I think it was because it was, as... I was advised, but it was my lawyer actually who said, the thing is, if you don't both know absolutely why this isn't working, and you go into a divorce, and even if you've just said, oh, it's fine, there is a level of commitment that you still have for the rest of your lives together if you have kids.
Yeah.
And to be able to sit in a room with somebody else who leads you to a place where, I'm not going to say that it's amicable, but that you can both appreciate why it's not worked with no level of animosity or bitterness. And then you can go on to do, and what's the divorce we did? Collaborative.
Oh, you were one of those few.
Which is a lot cheaper again.
Yeah.
And you can sort out the living arrangements, the financial arrangements, on the back of a fag packet, but the general gist of it, in that safe environment that's being mediated by somebody else.
Yeah.
It will save you a lot of money, a lot of money, and B, it puts your relationship on. I'm not going to have more than what's amicable, non-contentious level.
Just saves the core, the integrity of that relationship, so you can have a future of being in each other's lives.
Yeah. And you know what? You can say what you think in an environment that they're not going to take offence at. And actually, I think, at the crux of it, it was, look, we don't make each other happy anymore. We don't make each other happy anymore. We compromise on everything. Do we want to spend the next 30 years doing this? Or do we want to actually have, the lives that, the marriage that we thought we should have had with somebody else?
Yeah.
Because there is that opportunity.
Was that a gradual thing, though? That was, over time, fizzling out and just stacking of issues? Or was it a sudden thing?
No. Oh, no. It's definitely over time. I think it is over time. And I think, it is always, I will say, if you're arguing over the dishwasher, you need to go and speak to somebody. If you are arguing over the dishwasher to the point that it's not a laugh, the point that it's not joking and it's not joshing, if you do get seriously, I actually want to poke him in the eye with the fork over the dishwasher, go and speak to somebody, because that's
a problem.
Yeah. There is.
Yeah.
I really... and people laugh about it, but, it all comes down to the dishwasher.
But it is that stacking of small things that builds to that huge resentment, so that something then just is like, okay, we've had enough.
Yeah, there is a straw that broke the camel's back. And I always say, it was a little bit like, I always likened it to the opening of Pandora's box. You'd think, I'm not sure. And then something good would happen. So, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think, when you open that box and you open it wider and wider and wider, and then something happens that blows the box open.
Yeah.
You can't shut it again. And I think people have also asked me, I think it's over, but I'm not sure. And I said, if you're not sure, then it's not. You do have to not... someone said, did you have to reach rock bottom? And I wouldn't say it was rock bottom, but I think you have to reach a realisation.
It's clarity, I think.
Where, as I say, all the lights have been switched on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you reach... It is a level of calm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a level of calm. And I think for me, small things, like it was always, I knew I would have to leave the house. That was always a give. I would have to leave the house. And, you know, we had, again, this is very interesting, the amount of women who messaged me, how did you leave your beautiful house? Okay, it's bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
And when it
That's
doesn't
brave to say
become
that,
your
I
home. No, but it's when you realise that.
Right.
And when it genuinely is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, interestingly, it had always been, but what would I do? Because, you know, I love the house.
Yeah.
And actually hearing myself say that now is just so shallow. It's so shallow because it's not about the house.
But that is actually one of the things that I hear most in my clinic is, yeah, but I don't want to lose the house. And I need the house for the kids as well, because I've got kids and the kids need the home and they need the garden and they need, and I understand that because that's...
I don't, do you know what? No, I don't actually. It's
Really?
actually, it's bullshit.
Well, yes.
It's literally
but
bollocks.
It's normal to feel
But
that, I think.
no, but it's not. It's a level of financial security. It's a level of financial security. And I think the thing for me is, I always say as well, why would you want to stay in that home that is so entrenched in memories that aren't necessarily happy?
Yeah.
I think that's cruel.
Yeah.
I think that's worse for kids.
It's quite torturous, I think.
Give them a new start. That is so selfish. You're not thinking of the kids.
Yeah.
You're thinking of yourself.
Yeah.
And you're thinking of what they're going to say at the coffee morning when you have to go and live in a smaller house.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to go on 3 holidays a year. Who cares? I honestly...
I love that you have the liberation to sort of go, I don't care what anyone else thinks.
I
think a lot of people
really
genuinely do.
don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't care. My happiest holidays are, you know, they weren't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I took my kids, and actually, that's the other thing. I remember being in Mauritius, you know, in a holiday we paid for, you know, that cost a fortune, in one of, you know, the most beautiful hotels in the world. And I remember walking along the beach thinking, and this is a couple of years ago, so the summer before it, a couple of years ago, so a couple of months before it all did, you know, the lights all got turned on. And I remember thinking, I should be the happiest person on the planet.
Yeah.
And I've almost reached a level of numb.
Yeah.
I think that is what I would say. I wasn't unhappy. And that's what somebody said, well, you weren't unhappy.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't unhappy because that's not in my nature to be unhappy. I will always find the happiness in anything.
Yeah.
You know, I am glass half full.
Yeah.
Having been told for 20 years that I wasn't. Anyway, I am glass half full. And I do see, you know, and I just thought, this is wrong. This is really wrong. And I would always be happiest in Suffolk, on the beach, in Suffolk, with fish and chips.
I love it.
And I, you know, and that's where my kids will always say they've been happiness.
Yeah.
Actually, no, one of them will go, I'm so sorry, Mum, no, it wasn't, it was the Maldives.
Well, I can't blame them being a massive...
I will say, we did actually have an amazing holiday. This was quite a few years ago, pre-COVID, quite a few years ago. That was amazing. That was amazing in the Maldives.
Yeah,
but
you can't beat that though.
But it was a time when we were all really happy.
Yeah. And that's really key, I think.
Yeah.
Because you can go to the most beautiful place in the world, but if you're sad or unhappy, then you take that with you. You're still taking that wherever you go.
Yeah.
No,
and again, you know, I mean, I know women whose husbands are having an affair soon who they know, but they'll suck it up because, you know, he comes home and doesn't bother me. Happy days, gets it somewhere else. What's not to love about that? And again, if that's how, and again, there is no judgment at all. If that's how you want to live, that is.
But maybe it's not how they want to live. Maybe it's the fact that they don't feel they have the resources, the emotional or the financial resources to leave.
I also think they don't. Maybe it is, or maybe that's what they perceive happiness to be. And I do think a lot, certainly I will 100% admit that I was very, very guilty of growing up and I wanted the house, I wanted the cars, I wanted the holidays, I wanted the successful job.
Yeah.
That was obviously quite a weird thing. But that's what I wanted. Those are the boxes.
Yeah.
Having not had them as a teenager
Yeah.
and having had them when I was younger and losing them thinking that's, you know, what I want. And then when you've had them, you think,
Yeah.
all right, okay. This isn't all it's cracked up to be. Actually, it is being with somebody who makes you happier than you've ever thought possible.
What about being on your own?
I had planned to be on my own. That was what I was going to do.
To leave to go and find the
No.
Because
But
sometimes
I got to a point where I wanted the opportunity.
Yeah.
That for me I was happy to take that. It's not a risk. Interesting, I never thought it was a risk.
Yeah.
I always knew I would.
Yeah.
I always knew I would.
Wow. Because that's usually the biggest fear that I hear is like, well, I need to stay because I don't know if I'm going to be loved again. And it's the number one human need, love and connection.
Yes.
So if I leave this, where am I going? My friends can love me in a certain way, but I need that other level. That's my greatest fear.
I knew that I didn't have it where I was. And again, I think that's the Pandora's box aspect. You know, I opened it, shut it, opened it, shut it, opened it. And when it became too full of, I'm not going to say negative things, but things that weren't right.
Yeah, yeah.
It was then,
Yeah.
it was then
Yeah.
not easy to make the decision. It wasn't, with hindsight, it actually was easy.
I do think it's empowering listening to you because you do have your own very strong convictions about, you know, it's okay to leave and be vulnerable and step out into the unknown and face that head on. And I think a lot of people will find that inspiring. Maybe they won't understand quite how. I don't know if you've got any advice on if you are scared and it's fear that's holding you back.
I do think, and I'm not, you know, stupid enough to realise that I was in a very fortunate position because I was financially secure.
Yeah.
And I think that does make the pill a lot easier to swallow.
Yeah.
Has my lifestyle changed? Hugely, you know, enormously. But that you know was worth it. You know, I mean, I live in a shoebox, and I haven't, you know, but it doesn't make a difference. My level of happiness and seeing, interestingly, my children so much happier is extraordinary.
Why do you think they're happier?
I think they're happier because seeing their parents happier.
Right.
And seeing both.
Even though you weren't arguing at home.
No, they knew there was a level of tension.
Right.
You know, there was a level of, and that's the other thing as well. I had to become somebody, and that's something that I did say, you know, in the therapy. This is why the therapy is really useful. I've turned into somebody who I really don't like, and I wouldn't expect you to like. You know, I remember sitting there and saying, I get it. You know, I don't like you. You don't like me, and I understand why. I don't like this person. I don't want to be this person anymore. I really don't.
And it's great that you were able to do that, because I think the reason that you guys now get on and have a relationship is because you worked through all those issues. Yeah.
I just think it's interestingly, do we talk about it now? Do we have? Absolutely not.
No.
No, because it's done.
Yeah.
You know, he's moved on, I've moved on, and we do have, you know, my son's 18th birthday. All he wanted were, both parents, both parents, new partners, and our old friends that we spent Christmas with, we spent New Year with, we used to go on holiday with, who we're both still friends with. Do we all see each other together? No, but we can get together, and it'd be absolutely fine.
It's all credit to you guys, because that's not easy, you know, and that is, you know, in my world, that's quite rare.
Yeah.
And I think that takes a level of compromise on both sides to be able to do that, and putting the kids first.
Yes.
And respect and kindness, which sometimes we don't see. But if you have both parties, like yours was what I would call a healthy relationship, even though there was conflict, you didn't get on, you didn't want to be together.
Yes.
It was still healthy fundamentally.
Yes.
Which means you can both look for compromise, which I think helps.
Because, and I think the one thing I will say is that, again, you know, people say, why did you leave? And I say I left before it got truly toxic.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I could see the way it was heading, and having been in that scenario as a child, and seen my parents and had the therapy for it, at 17, and I had it in my late 20s, and I had it I've seen it, and in my 30s, you know yourself, you know when to pull the cord.
So what's the biggest lesson you've learned from that?
I think do you know what? I think the biggest lesson is being honest with yourself, which I think most women, and I can't really comment on men, I think men probably do as well, find it really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I also think it's accepting a proportion of blame.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I am not talking about scenarios where there is domestic abuse. I'm not talking about scenarios where there are certain individuals, male or female, who are ridiculously toxic. I'm talking about, you know, the majority of normal
where there's
relationships.
obviously going to be some level of conflict, but you can manage that and work
Yeah.
through it. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, your story is amazing, and I think the way that you've come through it, and I love the way that you're talking out, because I think it definitely inspires people that you can get through it. And being the one to leave, do you find you get less sympathy?
None.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Well, I think, I think you obviously, of course, there is that first scenario of women who, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Who don't understand it. You know, for your children, and you break the family up, and and that is a level of frustration.
Is there a level of guilt there with that?
For them,
But
or
not
for me?
Yeah, for you.
No.
Okay, I love
none. Absolutely none. No, because why? I struggle with the aspect that if two people aren't together, nobody would ever say to somebody who's left a job they're not happy in, why didn't you stay in that job?
Yeah.
Nobody judges that.
Yeah.
And it's no different. Two people who aren't connecting anymore, and they were in an environment that is it's not toxic yet, but it's not a happy environment. It's slightly miserable.
Yeah.
That is not a healthy environment to bring children up into. And
I guess you left the family home, which is the unusual, potentially dynamic out of that.
I mean, well, that's another stage as well. I mean, that, you know, whoa, how could you, you know, how can you leave your children? Someone said to me, how can you not bear to see your children every day? And I went, do you know what? Really easily. I was joking. But there are days when I didn't want, you know, they're hot. Teenagers aren't very nice. A lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I said, nobody would ever say that to a man.
No.
Why is it different?
I don't know. And it is frustrating. I hear that a lot.
But I think women do it. I think because it is.
This goes against the norm, does it? Is it against the
Yeah.
norm? Are we not there yet? I mean, you know, we never used to have children outside of marriage. Now that's okay. That's fine. No one says, oh, you're not married anymore. Maybe this is the next thing, you know. Yeah.
I think it is, you know. I mean, and on the other foot, it's very unusual for a man to stay at home and look after the children. You know, you know, a man who gives up his career to look after his children, to bring his children up, which is another bugbear of mine, by the way. If one more woman says to me, but I gave up my career to bring up my children. Well, I brought mine up as well. And I also managed to have a job.
Yes.
But that's, you know, so it's just the judgment.
Yeah.
It's just the...
Because everyone can do their own thing, right? It's literally whatever works for you, but don't then put your stuff on us.
And that's it. And that's why I say I think women project. And I think to make themselves feel better about their situations, they have to make somebody else feel worse about theirs. Which, that's fine. But you can...
Some women, not all women.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God.
Would
not
you say
all
you're
women.
a woman's woman?
Yes, I absolutely would. And I will 100% preface this with, as my best friend says, is my worst toxic trait is that I don't understand or support weak women. And I would agree with that. And I know that is an awful thing to admit.
What does weak women mean, though? Because I spend my time picking women up off the floor who are struggling because of horrendous things that happen to them, which make them weak. And I know I was weak at one point because
but I think it's when they perpetuate that. Right. I think it's when they find excuses and when they lean into the victim mode.
And I guess that's where I see that's my mission, is to help people cope better with that, because I think a lot of people don't know how. So, and I think with you, with your mum, that gave you the how. Whereas if you hadn't had that, how would you have done that?
Totally. And it's not, bear in mind that there aren't women like that I would then not at all. But I think it's women who perpetuate that for years and years, who don't want help.
Yeah.
And I think women who don't want change and who are happy to live their lives under the banner of, well, it's not fair.
Yeah.
And I think that they're the sort of women, not women who have been through a difficult time and who are trying to come out the other side. That's not what I would tell a weak woman at all.
Yeah.
I think a weak woman who is someone who is inherently weak, who doesn't see the need to change themselves and, you know, lives their life by continually blaming somebody else.
That is giving your power away every single time, which is...
Well, I think it's lazy. This is such a bad thing to say, isn't it? But I do, because I just think there are so many women, as you say, who have been to hell and come out of it by sheer grit, determination.
We're listening to this who are on their way through, and this is inspiring them to get their power back.
And who dig deep.
Yeah.
Who can dig deep. And I remember having this conversation with somebody else, and they said, why are you like that? And why do you think that? Why do you think that all women can do that? And I say, do you know what? Because if children can do it, grown women can do it. And I think if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your children.
Oh, that's the biggest leverage for a lot of people.
Do it for your children. They deserve that.
Yeah.
They deserve that.
For me, and I don't know what you think about this, it comes down to emotional intelligence and educating to be able to be, I believe you can control the remote to your brain. You can choose how you react. It might not be your instinctive reaction, like someone's cheated, someone's hurt you. You're going to reel and you might be upset, but you can take your power back then. And I think that's a gift to give to children that enables them to face any challenge there.
Yeah. I think it's a real gift to your children to understand what happy is. And I think to also think, do you know what? You can make a change if you're not.
Yeah.
And I think you can do it when it goes against the grain of everything that society says you should do. Because regardless, this day and age, we still live in an environment where a nuclear family is key. And I would love to change the narrative of what family is. It doesn't have to be biological mum, dad, and children living under the same roof.
Yeah.
And I think as long as we continue to perpetuate that, it can be damaging because, you know, you feel that you are failing. If one more person, again, I've got a book of that bingo is divorce bingo.
I love that. We should do that.
Yes.
That would be fun.
Oh my God, let's do that.
We should do divorce bingo game.
Divorce
that would be so cool.
bingo.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, how do you feel if your marriage failed? It's like, do you know what? I didn't. My marriage was massively successful for almost 20 years. Yeah. We have 3 great children. You know, the fact that we can both walk away not having lost a friend, I think that is the definition of a successful marriage. Yeah. And it was the end of a chapter. Yeah. You know, someone said to me years ago, I think it's brilliant, marriage should come with a 10-year break clause.
I think it should.
So
actually, in my case, a 3-year break clause, but yeah.
Okay, well, maybe 5. But at the end of 10 years, you should be able to turn around and say,
what do you think?
What do you think? Are we done? And the other thing, the thing that I've learned as well, which I do, and this is where I do feel sorry for so many people, myself included, the legal aspect of divorce is just beyond, and it's unnecessarily hideous.
Yeah. So look, you bring so much to the table. I mean, you've been through so much. One of the things, I mean, your book, I love it. Get Changed. I know it's been out for a while, but
yes,
I've got my own copy here, which I love. So tips for people coming out of relationships. I know a lot of the people that listen to me have been in relationships for either a long time, they've lost a sense of self.
Yes.
They look at themselves in the mirror and they go, no one's going to want to date me. I don't like my body. I don't like this. What do I wear? You know, what colours suit me? I have no idea. I'm going to go on a date.
Oh.
What do I wear for a first date? Can you give us some help? Because a lot of us struggle with this.
I think the most important thing is, when it comes to getting back your confidence, and that is the whole point of the book, is actually about regaining your confidence. And it was written, interestingly, before I had even thought of getting divorced. But it was more about reaching a certain time in your life, whether that be divorce, whether that be the death of a parent, whether it be going back to work, or your children have gone to university, empty nest syndrome, whatever it might be. There is an age at which women look in the mirror and think, I don't recognize the person looking back at me.
Absolutely, that was me.
Yeah, and I think the easiest way to fix that, because obviously mentally there is so much work that you can do, but to change it overnight is so difficult. I think the easiest way to actually get back a modicum of your own power is by looking in the mirror and thinking, I can see the person looking back at me and I like her. And the quickest and easiest way to do that is by how you look.
Yes.
And as much as I remember my daughter saying to me when I was writing the book, oh, well, that's really shallow, Mum. Okay.
You've got to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere. And until you understand, and yes, it is literally first impressions. But the point is that first impressions are what you are judged on. And again, explaining to my daughter, who was mid-teens at the time, she said, if someone thinks that, then I don't want to know them. It's like, well, that's fair enough. And you can think that way. Or you can flip it on your head and think, if I love the way I look, if I look in the mirror and I feel more confident, I'm taking that power back.
Yes.
So if somebody is going to judge me, do you know what? I want to give them the impression of the person I want to be. I might not be that person yet, but I can give them the impression that I am that person by how I look.
Yeah.
And that, again, we spoke earlier about taking the power back.
Yeah.
That is it's not an easy fix, but it's a quicker fix than going through a million rounds of CBT.
Yeah.
So I just think, and that is also the first step. If you know that you look good, if you know that someone will say to you, and if you look good, you stand differently, you have a different aura about you.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I'll say to girlfriends of mine who, again, well, no one ever chats me up in a bar. It's, but because the bitterness is emanating off you. You need to, when you look down, go and look amazing.
So I know that my clients often say to me, but I don't know what suits me anymore.
Okay, so that is in the book.
Is finding the new you through fashion, right?
So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So I take everybody back to basics. So I ask people to find their style icon. So it's really taking everybody right back to basics and understanding how you want to look. Do you want to look elegant? Do you want to look modern? Do you want to look... Basically, I do it through people.
Right.
So are you more Victoria Beckham, or are you more Holly Willoughby, or are you more Claudia Winkleman, or are you more Cher? I mean, I don't know. It might be. Whoever it might be. Are you more Idris Apfel?
Yeah.
Sorry, Idris Apfel. Do you want to look in the mirror and see, Tess Daly looking back at you?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That book takes you through the process of how to narrow everything down. So all it does is teaches you to focus, and it then gives you the tools to understand what's going to work for your body. Once you've found the sort of style that you want to emulate, how does that translate into outfits?
Yeah.
And that, it talks you through that. It talks you through colour, it talks you through shapes, it talks you through what to wear, how to be more sustainable in your clothing. It breaks everything down into bite-sized pieces. And it's written, I call it a Haynes manual for fashion. Because some of the fashion books they're sort of written at a level...
It's quite intimidating, a bit like law sometimes. You're thinking, well, I'm not a stylist and I don't really know, and I'm not into fashion, and so how would I know? But I love the quote, don't be bullied by other people into wearing things they think suit you. I've been victim of that many times, thinking, oh, right, I'm going to wear that because so-and-so told me that suited me, but I don't like it, but if they said it, I'll wear it.
Yeah, and what this book does, it gives women the confidence back to say fit themselves. And do you know what? Some women just need permission.
Yes.
They just need permission to feel, I'm going to wear this. I can wear it. Not listening to what their mum says or teenagers are the most brutal judges. Or a best friend, or a husband. What are you wearing? And some women think, I feel great. And it just takes one comment.
Yeah. Happened to me the other day. I bought a long grey, it wasn't fitted, it was like a slightly baggy, sort of loose dress from Saint and Sophia, and absolutely loved it. Put it on, went to get my son from school, and he kind of gave me a bit of a look. And then when I got out of the car, he goes, what are you wearing?
Yes.
What is that? And I'm like, I really like it. It's just really comfy, easy to throw on, great for school. I'm thinking, stylish, got a pair of boots on. I think I'm looking, oh. He's like, never wear that again when you're with me. I'm like, okay.
So I think there is an element as well of if you do something different, and it's very, very similar. Do you know what? If you step outside your comfort zone, people are quite intimidated by that. Yeah. It makes them feel uncomfortable. So it's not about you. Yeah. It's about them. And that goes back to the divorce thing and the stigma. If you're doing something that other women can't understand, and also your divorceness status might infect them.
Yes. Oh, yes. There's a virus.
Oh,
virus.
Gosh.
Actually, it's very true. Actually, there was some research that showed that once one couple in a group got divorced, the divorce rate massively increased for the others.
Yeah. I think it shines a lens as well, because also, I did have, exactly. The whole, going back to the, why are you not happy? Because obviously our lives are all quite similar. I think if you put your head above the parapet and say, well, I'm not happy, I do think, and I completely understand this, that there then is the insinuation, well, what's wrong with my life? Are you saying, I'm happy, shouldn't I not be happy too? No, I'm not saying that.
Yes.
I'm not saying that at all. This is about me, this isn't about you.
Yeah.
I'm making no judgment on your life or your happiness whatsoever.
Yeah.
This just wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't working for me.
I love it though. I mean, I love the fact that you've got so many tools here that can help people. And this should be a divorce essential book.
Yes.
If you're going through a divorce, you need to get your book because it helps you.
It does talk more about just getting dressed. It talks about clothes and it talks about trusting your gut instinct, going through your own wardrobe. It teaches you how to do a wardrobe detox.
Yes.
It teaches you...
Which is essential after a breakup, I think.
Totally.
Any breakup, not just a divorce, any breakup.
Don't get a haircut. That's one thing I'd say.
Don't
get a haircut. Not straight away.
Yeah, wait.
And don't get a fringe.
Yes,
don't get a fringe.
Common. Yeah,
don't get a fringe. No, but I think there are definitely clothes that I don't wear now.
Yeah,
I do think it is like shedding a skin.
Yeah,
but it should be. I think also I would say don't do anything really drastic until you feel that you're in a place where you're confident enough to do it. You're doing it for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons.
Now, I know you've got an amazing Instagram page which everyone needs to follow. Tell me about your handle. Why did you call it?
Does My Bum Look 40?
Does My Bum Look 40, yeah.
Does My Bum Look 40 was, interestingly, I actually, I started it at the age of 37.
That's quite early in the Instagram.
Well, it was, no, because it was a blog before then.
Okay, right.
So it was a blog before then, and it was the name of my business as well. Yeah, and I had my youngest, when my youngest was one, I had 1, 3 and 5. I did at one point have 3, 1 and 0. Yeah. And when they were, how old were they? Maybe they were, I think they probably 1, 2 and 4. I had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, I saw that.
I had a nervous breakdown. So basically, after another year of getting myself back together, I had a year of therapy, got everything on board, put all my ducks in a row and worked out what I wanted to do, which was the styling. I went to look at clothes and thought, oh my God, what does one wear when one is no longer in a tracksuit with sick down them, when one can wear heels again. And that's, that's what it was. And I was approaching 40, but it seems ridiculous now, as in, women these days are so cool when they're 40.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
They were back then.
Yeah.
So that's why it's called Does My Bum Look 40?
I love it. I love it. And it's super entertaining as well. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. So yeah, love your Instagram. Everyone should go and follow that. What's coming up? What's new? Where can people find you?
Well, we are actually doing a lot more live events.
Wow. Which
is really cool, actually. So both with the podcast that we'd had a podcast for a couple of years, been there, done that, got the podcast.
Love that.
It was great, but it was, as you know, so time consuming. And we decided actually to be able to reach more people, we're going to take it live, not in theatres or anything like that, but more in getaways. We wanted to actually spend time with women and see women just let their hair down and just be in a really safe environment, just to chat and just have an amazing time. So we've got lots more live events coming up with Wine Time.
Love
and
that.
Obviously Marianne Jones. And yes, we've got more shopping events next year. I'm working with a couple of brands doing more in-store styling, which is going to be great, up and down the country.
Wow. So we can find out about that on your Instagram.
Through Instagram, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll be checking those out.
Yes.
And I have one last question for you, which I ask all my guests. Obviously, my podcast is called Heartbreak to Happiness. So what is happiness for you, Kat?
Do you know what? Me being... I will actually say happiness is making sure 2 things. 1, that your children are as happy as you know they can be. And secondly, it's finding the person that makes you happier than you ever thought remotely possible. It's finding your When Harry Met Sally, is what I'll say. And I never ever thought it was possible, but it is. That's all I'll say. Yeah, it absolutely is. It really, really is. And I think it just makes everything else make total sense.
Yeah.
And it also makes you think how insignificant so much else that we thought was actually is.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. What a great way to end. And thank you so much for coming, for your energy, your passion. And I love your views and your opinions. I love them. I think that really have inspired a lot of people.
I'm so sorry if I've offended anybody. Oh my God. They are. Do you know what? It's funny because I don't think they're that controversial. And after the article I wrote for The Telegraph, I mean, they said it was the most commented article that they'd had the year to date.
It's powerful. It's empowering and it's inspiring.
Because women don't say it because they're so terrified of the reaction that they will get from other women. No, and I just think, do you know what? You just takes one person to stand up and say it. And if you don't agree, I'm not judging you. Please don't judge me.
Yeah. Well, we love you. So thank you so much, Kat, for coming on and being for such a fabulous guest.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've loved it. Thank you.
Oh, me too. Thank you. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do hit the subscribe button to follow us because it really helps us improve the podcast every time. Now, today's episode is sponsored by Payne Hicks Beach, who are arguably one of the strongest family law firms in the country, providing enviable strength and depth in both financial and children law cases. But not only are they the best in the courtroom and around the negotiating table, after years of experience in supporting clients through the most vulnerable times in their lives, they have recently launched new resources on mental health and family breakdown, leading the family law industry in looking at ways to guide, support, and help clients for the best possible outcome through some of their darkest days. You can contact them by emailing vhingston@phb.co.uk and don't forget to quote Sarah Davison. Thanks so much for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us, and I look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
That's it for today's episode of Heartbreak to Happiness. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to win a free ticket to one of Sarah's virtual retreats. The retreats are a transformative combination of live webinars with Sarah herself, coupled with empowering online video programs designed to help you cope better with your breakup and start feeling happy again. For more details, head on over to heartbreaktahappinesspodcast.com, where you can also get a copy of Sarah's free gift. Thank you, and join us again on the next episode for another dose of Heartbreak to Happiness.